MoGoW as well in that solo lane, just getting ahead and just picking on Frezzyy all day as well. We'll see if that happens in game 2 now as we head into picks and bans. Novus Orsa will be looking to shake things up a little bit better there, because I like their draft on paper. They just didn't execute it.
It was pretty solid. They couldn't really find the team fights they wanted to in the jungle. The one time that they utilized that the Sylvanus Zeus combination in the mid lane, it was just immediately dispersed by Elevate. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They needed to find a way to just go into Elevate's jungle, bait Elevate into a position that they weren't comfortable in, and then use all those huge area of effect controls. Adaptation is the key here, and Odin immediately banned by Novus. Like, they feel like the Odin was the key to the victory that Elevate got. Meanwhile, Elevate going to do the same 2 bans they did last time, I believe, with the Nike and the Toth. And this is what you really want to do if you're the second pick. You don't want Nike to go through because of the passive, giving everybody on your team the movement speed and the damage. You want to get that off the table. But now, we'll see if Novus Orsa is the ones to take away the Sylvanus, because it worked out for them the first time around. But instead, it's going to be the Fafnir, surprisingly enough. Like, I think that the Sylvanus was a good pick for them, but the issue was the Odin. I actually feel as well this is a better god for Frezzyy overall, because Fafnir has the ability to bait in a lot of situations, be very aggressive, and has a get-out-of-jail-free card with that ultimate to reset all his cooldowns and make him immune for a while. It just seemed that there was a disconnect between Frezzyy and Ducky. Every time Ducky would go into the backline, he wouldn't be able to use his Phantom to be able to get Frezzyy out of the action with the Odin cage. So there needs to be some more cohesion between those two frontliners as to who's going to peel and who's going to be aggressive. Well, the good news for MoGoW is they banned his Odin, but he's now got his Hercules. He's got a very good Hercules for himself as well. Likes to play that one too. We'll see how that works out. And if it's going to be in this solo lane to begin with, it can be running the Hunter role or the jungle as well. Well, not only that, Jermain has gotten his Ram taken away from him the last game, having to go onto the Uller. And it did get sold by FleuryQ's Neve, surprisingly enough. We'll probably have a replay for that later on. But either way, Batz and Izanami to respond. We haven't really seen too much Izanami today. Not so far. I think Europe has kind of stayed clear of it for the time being. I know North America is very favoring it right now. But we did see some changes towards crit in the early game, so it's taken a little bit longer if you want that crit to get it online now with the changes to Wind Demon and Poison Star. I don't know if it's going to be enough to stop Izanami being viable, because she's got great push power. That's very true. Without the crit, she's taken a little bit of a hit since she's a little bit better in the early to mid game. But like you mentioned before, she can still clear the way very effectively at level 1. Elevate, taking away the Sylvanus this time around. They're feeling very confident, especially they don't have to worry about the Odin. No, they don't have to worry about Odin at all. It's funny to see that Thanatos is not getting played at the moment either. We've not seen much of the Thanatos so far today, and that's one of the things I was like, well, I wonder if Kepri's going to see much play. Instead, over in Europe, we're seeing a lot of Fafnir, a lot of Sylvanus. And no Ao Kuang to mention either. Ao Kuang's days seem to be over, at least at this point in time. Teams have been electing to go for more different junglers, and it makes sense, obviously. Batz has a lot of control. The question is, are you going to be able to consistently capitalize off of that control? Because every single member is going to be moving at different directions during that ultimate. Well, we've seen Blizzard's Raw in the Pro League, and now we're going to see his Poseidon as well, with that being locked in. And ShadowNightmare picked Zeus the last game. This game is going to be Scylla, a bit of a different setup here. A lot of carry potential on both these two mid laners. It's not the most direct setup here for Novus Orsa. For the Scylla onto ShadowNightmare, obviously, you're relying on Frezzyy to hit his hammers, which he is capable of doing. But it's not the easy setup. I would much rather see him play like the Athena or the Kumakarna, just to get more guaranteed setup. Well, I do like the Awilix last pick there from Elevate as well. That's a great pick. There's 4 gods there that have leap abilities that can all be shut down by the Gravity Surge. Fafnir, Batz, not Izanami, Scylla for one definitely as well with the Sentinel, and Fenrir as well. There's a lot of pressure on Faeles' shoulders here in one way, but he's also got a lot of options. Well, he also has a little bit of setup for the Sylvanus ultimate, the pull coming out of MoGoW as well. So that could be something that he's relying on very heavily. As long as he pulls away FrostiaK's ability to engage with the jump, that's something, or the disengage rather, because sometimes Batz will like to use the monkey bounce to engage in, use that fear no evil, and then jump out. So that's something that Faeles is definitely going to be looking at. Well, talk to me about the solo lane matchup, because I don't know this one too much, totally. It's one of the old school ones of Fenrir versus Hercules, right? Does one have an overall, arcing better feel in the lane? Does he win it outright, or what's the situation here? The whole goal of this matchup for Ducky is to outpoke MoGoW. Try to get level 5. Depending on the opening here between the junglers, as long as Ducky can hit 5, he will guarantee himself a kill in the laning phase. As long as he can guarantee a stun from his Unchained into the Ragnarok, he can drag him into the tower. But MoGoW will be able to just generally outclear him, right? Okay. And that's the whole goal for MoGoW, just to survive until he's level 5. Once he's level 5, he'll have that ultimate. He needs to time his ultimate to be able to negate the stun Ragnarok effect, and then he should be in a good position.
Well, I'm just looking at the two support players here. We've got a sprint on the side of Dardez on the Sylvanus, and meanwhile across the way, you do have a Sunder on the side of Frezzyy as well. So two different styles of relic choices we've not seen too much of so far in the Pro League.
Especially coming out of supports. We've seen Sunder every now and then, but never on supports. And the invade coming out of Novus Orsa onto this red buff, it's actually being taken. And that's going to give level 2 on the side of Novus Orsa.
And now Frezzy's in a lot of trouble too, just going to have to walk away. But the damage has been done for Elevate here at the start of the game. Novus Orsa already level 2, pushed a whole wave into the tower, and now it's going to be a rough situation there for Jermain and Dardez to have to fight back into.
I'm going to ask the question again, why haven't we seen more Izanami? Just like that, FleuryQ and Frezzyy got the wave quick enough to be able to even stop the red buff coming out of Jermain and Dardez, and now we're the very convincing lead. Now granted, Frezzyy took a little bit of damage there, but he's still in a good spot sitting in the laning phase because Izanami is just going to put so much pressure here. Now, unfortunately, the red buff, though, hasn't been picked up, though.
No, the red buff was still on the ground, not able to be taken. There's Jermain now under pressure again, forced to roll away. Good little play from Frezzyy. On the right-hand side, though, speed buff already secured here for FrostiaK, as well as they got the elementals on the right-hand side, too. Good pressure coming out from Novus Orsa early. They've got themselves in a decent position so far.
It did, but the fact that FleuryQ wasn't able to pick up that red buff is not going to help him extend his advantage any further. He can't really out-clear Jermain and Dardez now. The level advantages has been there now. They're both level 3 on the side of Novus Orsa, but they're now going to be able to grab the oracles. That's going to give level 3 now because the purple buff has been taken by Dardez and Jermain.
And on top of that as well, Tully, they can also fall back to their own jungle still, pick up the purple and the red when they get time. So this experience lead will extend for the dual lane. Ducky, meanwhile, level 4 up against MoGoW with a full wave coming into tower for Ducky here. He shows he's got a bit of a lead in this lane overall. With these minions coming in, he'll be a little bit closer to 5.
And this is what I was talking about here. Ducky cannot out-clear MoGoW. He's going to be looking for a kill potential, which happens at level 5 because you can't rely on Brutalize to get the kill. It's going to get stunned out with Driving Strike every single time. So you have to max out the Unchained to be able to get off your damage. Look for the level 5 plate, drag MoGoW under that tower.
Now the one thing about the sprint on the side of Dardez here, I brought up the relic choices between the two as that pull was so close to FleuryQ there. The sprint is interesting this year because if you do upgrade it, it does give the Fatalis effect to your whole team, so you don't get cancelled out of doing basic attacks and be slowed down for that. But you can still be slowed after the initial application. The initial application will cleanse slows, but then you're still going to have to deal with them. The likes of Somersault from Batz, the likes of the Scylla Crush will still make an impact.
We see the gank coming from Faeles, though, but it's actually MoGoW that's in a little bit of trouble as well. The ultimate's going to negate some of the Fear No Evil, but it's not enough. And like we mentioned before, that's the play that Ducky wanted to get so badly. Great rotations from Faeles and FrostiaK, just unfortunately not fast enough was the Elevate's jungler.
Ducky's just playing really well in that lane already. You saw he got told FrostiaK was on his way and he trusted in his jungler to turn up at the right time when he needed to. Brings the Hercules under the tower, gets a bit of damage off there, and the Fear No Evil at the right time when it was needed comes out from FrostiaK. Good heads-up play from Ducky.
We see a little bit of more poke now onto Ducky. Despite dying, there's just no fear on the side of MoGoW without those two ultimates from Ducky. If you take all the ultimates off the table, MoGoW and Faeles will easily be able to just outright win that 2v2 against Ducky and FrostiaK, and that's exactly why we see all the poke coming out.
Well, Frezzyy was looking for a cheeky engager on the red buff again, but 3 members there for Elevate will secure their own red for the time being. The goal difference between the two teams is around 700 right now, which isn't too much. Experience, though, 1,200 in favor of Novus Orsa. Definitely a more telling sign of how this game's gone so far.
And a lot of this has been off the back of that red buff invade, able to grab their own 2 buffs, like you mentioned before. The first blood definitely helps as well. The question is, how can Ducky transition this little bit of a lead? If you can ever shut down MoGoW, that's a huge win for your team, as he's heavily one of the all-stars, I would say, out of Elevate, being able to out-rotate his enemy soul laner rather consistently.
Yeah, it's definitely good for Novus Orsa here just to continue doing what they're doing so far. They've switched up the style this game, managed to get a lead in each of the lanes overall. Compared to last game, it's a big telling sign.
We're seeing in the soul lane between these two guys, they're just like mind gaming each other. It's like, are you going to jump at me? No. Well, all right. I'm just going to save my all my abilities until you actually do. Because Ducky, what he could actually do is look for a Brutalize on purpose before the Unchained, forcing out the Driving Strike before the minions even get there, which would technically hurt MoGoW's clear. But I wouldn't like to see that happen up until Ducky gets some physical defense.
Well, the Oracles are available on the left-hand side here, and you can see Elevate already rotating towards them with Sylvanus and Poseidon looking to bring them down. But a show of force from Novus Orsa, 3 men strong, looking to deny that. Frezzyy to the front side. Going to allow FleuryQ to tag them and bring them back to the safety of the blue side of the map. And Novus also will get a free ward at the Gold Fury.
Level 8 ShadowNightmare with the shoes of the Mad Guy has enough damage with that crush to be able to really take out those oracles. So great zoning from Frezzyy allows FleuryQ and ShadowNightmare the amount of time that they need.
Once again, FrostiaK looking to pressure onto MoGoW on this right-hand side here, but MoGoW going to play it safe there. Invisible Boulder's OP. MoGoW manages to clear the wave out in response and does a bit of poke damage to Ducky as well.
A little bit of mind games also. He was technically trying to go for the pull to cancel the back, but if he goes for the pull, he's going to be in a position where he's going to get
ShadowNightmare knocked up in the sky. Kraken connects as well. Beautifully timed from Elevate, and they clean up ShadowNightmare. Frezzy's now here trying to do something, and basically it's get away from danger. Dardez is having none of that, looking for the dot damage to pick up Dardez. Picking him up, and he will. Just in time with the ultimate. Dardez cleans up the kill. In comes Frosty with a Fear No Evil, and Dardez will get it turned around on as well.
At least a 2-for-1 to be answered back here. Novus Orsa losing ShadowNightmare as he elected to go for the Aegis instead of the Purification Beat. So once he gets a little bit of stunned, that's it. He's just going to be a complete goner. That Whirlpool Kraken is going to be, as long as he has enough time to get that off during the CC effect, ShadowNightmare will die every single time.
Was a little bit risky though, Tony. It wasn't into the Gravity Surge and Kraken. If you miss time that, you're going to throw a Kraken for free, but it just worked out beautifully for the team.
Solo lane though, MoGoW going to get pulled back into the whole wave. Going to be about 70% health after a little bit of sustain. Still taking more damage with the 5 runes. He has to be careful though, because if he uses Brutalize there, he'll get stunned under the tower. But
Gold Fury's dead on the left-hand side as it's gone on. Novus Orsa secure it, but they will lose Frezzyy more than likely. One hit from Death walks right towards Faeles to give him the clean-up kill. Novus Orsa will be happy to pick up the Gold Fury and trade for just 1 life on that side.
It seemed that Frezzyy was worried about the jump coming out of Faeles there, wanted to juke back into it, but it didn't really matter. But now ShadowNightmare getting focused yet again, rooted into place. The Kraken gonna get Aegis out. It's not gonna hit onto the Whirlpool. Oof.
To be fair, Blizz's placement of that Kraken was beautiful. No Whirlpool underneath, just beautiful Kraken in the place where the Sentinel was gonna go, and did do great work. At least force the Aegis out, and that's all you can hope for as a Poseidon. Force the Aegis is at the best.
And yet again, despite not finding the kill, they're still going to be able to push out this tower. The Fear No Evil coming just to be able to hold the tower. Clears the wave, saves the tower for the time being.
A little bit more of an aggressive game this one, totally now. A couple more kills than we saw at this stage of the game. A bit more rotations coming out from both teams, looking to make plays happen as Frezzyy goes in. Not going to hit a hammer, instead he gets pulled by Dardez into tower range for a second, but will heal up a little bit thanks to
Ducky's right around the corner. He was thinking about jumping in. His ultimate was available as well. The beads were down onto BlizzardFX, and without the Kraken, that surely would have been a free kill as well. Electing not to pull the trigger quite yet, wanting to go back to the soul lane to elect to get more farm.
Just feel really even this one, Tony, overall, as Jermain's in a bit of trouble here, forced to beads away from all the incoming damage from the Hunter and the mid laner of Novus Orsa. The Oracles, though, look to get secured again. Forced to reset, tell a lie. They're still being danced back and forth one more, but they both go the way of Novus Orsa.
How can you contest against a crush from ShadowNightmare? Already maxed out at level 9 at this point. Makes it do so much damage here. Also gets the magical bonus power from her passive once that ability does get maxed out. But on the right-hand side, we see MoGoW getting pressured out here by FrostiaK and Ducky. It seems that the boys from Novus Orsa want to strip away the blue buff.
Does have his boulder here, MoGoW, so maybe he has to throw it over the wall and steal it away. Unfortunately, a little bit too late. Ducky hits a boulder in the back of his head and hits in the front, but he doesn't really mind too much. He weathers the storm now that he's working towards that breastplate of valor.
I like the idea and the mindset there, because the fact that he dropped the ward, he's able to spot the health out of the blue buff. But the fact that the members of Novus Orsa pulled the blue buff away from that ward made it more difficult for MoGoW to really predict how low it was to be in the execute threshold of the boulder.
And it's also the fact that if you do get it, if you see the boulder come over the wall, you get more time to react, such as reset the buff if need be, because it's not going to take damage if it's resetting at the same time, or use an ability very quickly to clean it up.
That's right, because MoGoW was behind the blue buff, that boulder inside the blue buff, as long as it was reset, would be immune. So that would have been a great opportunity as well for them. Either way, though, walking away cleanly with the blue buff. Now Novus Orsa with about a almost 2,500 gold lead, heading into the 10-minute mark, and this is pretty good for them considering that they have a Scylla for the late game.
Right now we're going to see the Portal Demon spawn on the right-hand side as well, so keep your attention there. On top of the fact we got the Gold Fury due up again in a minute and a half's time, roughly 2 minutes, and now you've got a decision on the left and a decision on the right the whole time, Tolly, so it's a seesaw battle of making sure you're in the right place at the right time.
At this point in time, it's definitely going to favor Novus Orsa to be able to stay on this left-hand side, just to be able to get this Gold Fury. It's going to be worth a little bit more gold than the Portal Demon, but if Elevate wants to cut their losses and they feel that they can't defend, it's always worth to just sacrifice that objective and take the one on the right instead.
Pressure in mid lane from Elevate with the minion wave pushing in. Pressure from Frezzyy in response. Didn't really do too much, but ShadowNightmare had a nice crush onto Dardez there. Not enough to really bring him down thanks to the help of Wisps, and the fact he's a little bit tanky with those extra levels.
FrostiaK waiting for somebody unexpected to come around that corner. He really wants to get off a gank, especially if they can catch them before the Sylvanus Poseidon ultimate.
MoGoW around the back here from the solo lane coming in as well, looking for a driving strike. He can find it. Pulls Shadow into a rough situation. The boulder hits two as well. Shadow's still alive thanks to the use of his ultimate, but Frosty has already fallen. Blizzard still doing good work, has pulled back into danger as FleuryQ was trying to get away, and in the end he falls down to MoGoW, picks up one, and Elevator winning the team fights again.
2 for nothing. Frezzy's low. He's going to be taken out as well. 3 for nothing now. The sustain from Dardez is going to be effective, and they're going straight for the Portal Demon here. It's only going to be Ducky to be able to hold this one. ShadowNightmare still coming back from base.
And this was good work from MoGoW, realizing that Ducky was coming back from base there and managed to rotate to this mid lane fight before Ducky even knew it was a thing. They're going to get the Portal Demon off this. With the Gold Fury still down, it's just a free, easy golden experience pickup.
And it makes sense that Ducky didn't want to contest that. There's not worth it in the world to be able to go for that. It's 1-on-5, and if it was a Fire Giant attempt, then it would definitely be worth trying to contest that objective, but only about 150 gold for each member of your team from the Portal Demon is not worth your life, because they're going to get the Gold Fury uncontested if Ducky dies here.
Talk about that Gold Fury, it has just respawned and Elevate already in position here to start up if they so choose, but it was Jermain and Blizzard alone with no ultimates available to them. They didn't want to try and risk it on their own here, so they'll wait for the team in a better moment.
Still waiting with this Gold Fury respawn. Ducky's just going to clear the way, but then start making the rotations. 2 members of Elevate on the right-hand side, leaving Gold Fury kind of exposed, but doesn't look like there's any wards to really spot that one out.
Not for the time being anyway. I believe there's an Oracle down just for the moment on one of the two teams. I'm not sure which one of that Gold Fury pit, but FleuryQ still farming away in this dual lane right now. His build different than Jermain's here with the Igfile pickup instead of looking for the Devourer's Gauntlets, where Jermain's gone with the Rama.
Also going for the Health Chalice, which is why we don't see him go for the little bit of the lifesteal, relying on all those health potions and then building into the Aussie after that point.
Getting mid lane from Dardez hits Frezzyy. That trade between these two supports has been going on the whole game, with Dardez looking for pulls and Frezzyy looking for the hammers through the wall.
And it's very easy to catch these supports, but it's really beneficial for it to be Frezzyy with the HP 5 coming from his sovereignty, so he's not going to take too much damage at this point, only level 9, and he's just going to sustain it all back up.
Well, bad news bears, because Ducky was on the right-hand side looking around those Harpies to try and engage on mid lane and make a play, but he was sat in a ward the whole time, so Elevate knew exactly what was going on there, so he's going to return back to the solo lane to meet up with MoGoW and continue farming up the minions over and over again. Their wave clear is pretty even at this point, so no one's really going to kill each other. At least there's going to be no tower pressure weapons there, but left-hand side, Frosty goes in, ShadowNightmare goes in, and a monster gets one, but it's not enough to actually get the reset because it was Frosty that picked up the kill.
And then finding the roof, Faeles is forced to go away. Frezzy's going into the ultimate form. Dardez trapped in the cove. The snipes connects on 2. Third one going to get jumped away. MoGoW making the rotation as well. His boulder is not available
as well, and now MoGoW's in a bit of trouble here. The heal comes through, but the Ragnarok is there. Free pick for FleuryQ. Over the wall comes Faeles with Knight's knock-up, but no gravity surge available to take Frezzyy on a wild adventure. Instead, he's going to fall back too, and Novus Orsa make a play on the left to pick them up the Gold Fury, just the same way Elevate made the play mid to pick him up the Portal Demon.
3 for nothing for Novus Orsa. Clean team fight. They're very fortunate that MoGoW's ultimate wasn't available for that team fight. There was just, Frezzyy was low. There wasn't much man on the side of FleuryQ to continue that team fight. Now, granted, if Novus Orsa, if ShadowNightmare killed that member right off the bat with his ultimate, that fight would have been even cleaner than before. So Elevate are counting their lucky stars that they didn't even lose more than just those 3.
But it's much more of a close battle, this one now, totally, with both teams being aggressive at certain opportunities as well. It's not like being the other sets of the day where both teams have fallen back, who've lost and look to try and, just let it happen to them. Both teams are actually actively looking to fight, looking for opportunities and big team fights, and they've both made them win at times.
And it's important for a team to be able to bounce back mentally, such as Novus Orsa. Losing a game less than 24 minutes and able to now have a little bit of an advantage heading into the 15th 15-minute mark with about a 3,000 gold lead. Novus Orsa is doing wonders, and this is just to go to show how experienced they are as individual players to be able to just form this new roster and still compete in the SPL.
And the big key is Ducky in the solo lane has a 1 to 2 level lead over MoGoW, and the same can be said for FleuryQ in the duo lane up against Jermain there as well. Everything else is pretty much even across the board.
And this is basically the same result as the last game. It was Faeles that ganked the solo lane the first game around effectively. In this game is FrostiaK that was the first deciding jungler factor.
Engage on Faeles, really look for the big play. The Hammer Monster hits Dardez, but Dardez still alive. Ult's in place, hits 2. Gives him a chance to fall back, but Blizzard on the left being focused by FrostiaK. He's left alone. Kraken's in place. It's good damage, but it's not enough to bring down Frosty, as Frosty will clean it up. It's a 1-for-0 exchange, as on the right, the solos continue to duel.
Using the beat just to prevent the driving strike under the tower. It took 1 tower shot, didn't want to take 2 or 3 instead. MoGoW now still in a little bit of trouble. That tower is about to go down very soon. Nice physical defense coming out of Ducky. He doesn't really have to worry too much here. He's just going to walk on back. And this is the point in time where Fenrir is going to start really tipping the scales with his seething hell.
Doesn't know Frezzy's over the wall. Hammer time comes into play to slow him down, but a good driving strike will push him back to safety. But with the rotation from Novus here, 4 members strong, this tier 1 will fall for free.
And that's what you have to do whenever you take out anybody. BlizzardFX just now respawning. Not having that mid-mage makes it very easy for Novus Orsa to really dictate the pace of the game. It's even going to force out the rotation from Jermain in the mid lane, which is going to be immediately responded by everybody from Novus Orsa.
Yeah, Novus Orsa tried to catch Jermain there, but Jermain was aware there could be a rotation coming in, so falls back. The Portal Demon has just spawned now, and if Elevate recognize that a couple of members of Novus are looking to base, they could try and start this Portal Demon up and sneak it away.
That's what you have to do. Any sort of a control that you have and your timing window, if 2 members back, then you essentially have a 5-on-3 for about the next 20 seconds or so. So you have to look for these kinds of objectives if the enemy team is going to give you such a window.
Well, MoGoW's already started the Portal Demon. Jermain was on the rotation over, but it looks like they've decided to call that idea off for the time being. They do have a ward down at the Portal Demon, so they know exactly where Novus Orsa are for the time being here as the dance begins.
Not too much magical defense on the side of Elevate between MoGoW and Dardez, which is why ShadowNightmare has been doing so much damage as well. He hasn't been that much on the top of the charts, but he's only a Scylla that's level 14. Once this gets a little bit later on, it's going to be really problematic for Elevate.
Well, all relics are available outside of the purification or beads on the side of Ducky for the time being here, and it's Novus Orsa on the front foot here with the ward coverage looking to bring Elevate into this Portal Demon fight.
FleuryQ getting a little bit of an attack steroid off of Frezzy's ability, but now Frezzy's jumping in, not going to hit the stun, but on the backside getting pulled in is FrostiaK. He's forced into the beats, but Faeles also beats and go away from Ducky's ultimate.
Great pull on Ducky, and Ducky's in a bit of an awkward spot there, but luckily gets over the wall. If the cripple would have come out from the whirlpool just a second earlier, or the Earthbreaker from Hercules, Ducky could have been a world of hurt. Instead, the position advantage is now that for Novus Orsa. They're looking to burst the Portal Demon down. They get it for free.
They also found MoGoW's ultimate, so they don't have to worry about that in the next engagement. It's going to be jumping in is Frezzyy. Could have looked for a stun there onto Jermain, but was really worried about getting Whirlpool Kraken instead, electing to walk north of that Whirlpool.
FleuryQ jumps over the wall as Ducky rooted in place for a second, pulled in by MoGoW. Won't continue the pressure for now, but Novus are grouping up as a 5-man towards the mid lane.
They're trying to find something. Jermain is still on the left-hand side. He's going to make the rotation at this point. He wanted to be in position to find the snipes instead of being in the thick of the action, and then he would look for the cleanup kills after he would rotate through the jungle side, but electing to still continue to farm. That's what you really want out of your hunter. That's a Ram that's already 2 levels behind the Izanami.
Very hard to pressure the mid lane when the mid lane mage is up, especially when they've got wave clear, like a Poseidon. He can clear the wave safely at the back, and he still had the support of the Sylvanus alongside him if they did get pressured into the tower. Novus just have to take the small win of the Portal Demon, go back, clean up their jungle, and then look towards the next objective, which will be probably the Gold Fury.
As it has just respawned now, like you mentioned before, it's all about the slow and steady game coming out of Novus Orsa. After they lost the last game, they need to figure out a way back into this 2-game set. They don't want to walk away here without any points at all. If they find a split here, they'll at least walk away with 1 point, and which is not the worst thing in the world in the first week of the SPL. There's still 6 additional weeks after this one. This will give your team enough time to really evaluate what went right, what went wrong, and how you can make the changes for the next week.
I don't think anyone would be upset with not going even, other than the World Champions Energy, I think. They're the only ones that would be upset about dropping
Oh my god, can you imagine if Energy split against Obey?
It's weird to say that.
They would be so mad.
I can imagine. Well, at least Adapting would be, that's for sure. He's
always mad. That's how I feel. He's just born mad.
He's basically the Hulk in disguise.
He probably like smacked the doctor when he was
Swedish
born.
Hulk. That's basically what we should call Adapton now. Because that's what he is. He's just like, I'm always angry. That's all that ever happens. Gold Fury set up for Novus Orsa here, though. They're still trying to position around, looking for a pick or somebody, and they're looking at Dardez there, who instantly ults before the Fear No Evil can go off. FrostiaK still gets out, though, and still Dardez being invested a lot into there as Frezzyy gets credit for the kill. Ducky is going to have to jump back as Jermain snipes came through, but it was a 1-0 just as support goes down. All the ultimates were used, however, though, in that engagement from both teams.
Yes, there's so many ultimates, and it was such an easy pick because, like we mentioned before, there's no magical defense onto Dardez. Nice pull, forcing the beats out of ShadowNightmare. Jermain on the side, getting off some pot shots there. Crush off the mark. It's all of Novus Orsa in a 5-on-4 as Dardez is about to respawn.
This is good work so far from Elevate to defend this tier 1 tower, though, especially after losing Dardez here. The pull from MoGoW forcing beats on ShadowNightmare, forcing him to just play back a lot more now of this. As Jermain on the left, he's getting a bit of alone time with that Gold Fury right now.
He's going to be able to get it too with the Devil Gloves, keeping him topped off. He doesn't really have to worry about the damage, but right around the corner, FrostiaK is coming. He's going to have to force the reset. Additional members from Elevate are there, but Jermain cannot position himself to allow himself to get collapsed on.
But the Gold Fury takes a little bit while to regen all the way back to full reset again as they engage on Jermain. Ducky going to force out the Ragnarok and make Jermain beat, and now Frosty goes in looking to clean him up on the back. Meanwhile, Faeles is in trouble, being chased down by the Brutalizer. Ducky, 2 quick kills are going to fall down. Here's Frosty's now running for his life, trying to buy time for his team to collapse down. Frosty's still alive. How long can he live for is the question. The Fear No Evil's up at the right time. The baits are real, and now the collapse from Novus Orsa is here.
FrostiaK just basically won his team this team fight so easily, 4-0, walking away with 1% health is FrostiaK, and that's going to allow Novus Orsa to get this Gold Fury for free.
No,
but it looks like they're going to go for Fire Giants.
Yeah, I think they want the Fire Giant here. The call to back there was really odd to be until like, hang on.
Instantly.
They've got to be going Fire Giant right now. Ducky's going to find the speed as he waits for his teammates to turn up. MoGoW just teleported in though, so MoGoW will be around to try and keep them off this Fire Giant here. And this could just be enough for Elevate to not lose this fire potentially.
No boulder though on the side of MoGoW. It's going to make it very tricky to find a way to steal this late game objective. FrostiaK is going to have to confirm it with a Fear No Evil, but it's still on cooldown for probably another 30 or 40 seconds, so they have to concede it. They didn't even grab the Gold Fury in the process.
I mean, the choice was Gold Fury Fire Giant there, totally. They went for the Fire Giant, but Elevate were ready for it, got the teleport out from MoGoW. They would have gone for the Gold Fury. It would have been the safer option, the more likely one they would have got for sure. Was it guaranteed?
Yes, the Gold Fury was definitely guaranteed because there was no boulder from MoGoW.
Okay.
And even if by some miracle he steals it with either Driving Strike or the pull, he's guaranteed dead
going on MoGoW right now. Ragnarok was held on to by Ducky there. Luckily enough, he missed the first bite, and MoGoW's boulder did not keep him alive through the immunity. And now without MoGoW here, and Jermain showing presence in the left-hand lane, Novus Orsa get a bit of time with the Fire Giant. Dardez on his way.
BlizzardFX now wanting to overcommit here onto this Fire Giant. They're going to give this a 5-on-4 because Jermain is on the left-hand side. He got the tier 1 tower. He's going to go for the tier 2, trying to get some gold for his team's pocket, recognizing that they couldn't really defend the Fire Giant anyway, and it's better off that he catches up in levels. He's 3 levels behind FleuryQ.
And now they're going to go to tier 2 tower on the left for free as well here. Lucky enough for Elevate, this is helping him with the gold situation for the time being. But they're taking the Gold Fury
He just rolled into FrostiaK on the left-hand side.
Because he's alone here, surrounded by multiple members, but he's keeping him busy after Gold Fury, as his team's now looking for a Phoenix. Elevate half the base to make sure they defend.
They're trying to go back in time. Some members did back. We see FrostiaK trying to stop Faeles from back and right side. Phoenix getting engaged on the sprint has been popped. MoGoW trying to find a pole. 1v1 on the left. Cracking off the mark completely. FleuryQ going to get striked back into the center now.
Ducky's
and it's Blizzard getting taken out by Ducky.
And Ducky managed to pick up a kill, and now MoGoW surrounded by 4 members of Novus Orsa. On the left-hand side, Frosty was making sure people weren't able to get back as Faeles and him traded out overall. Frezzyy gets himself another kill, puts him on 2 on the support role for the day, 15-6, and a tier 2 tower in mid could be looked at next.
9,000 gold in the lead is Novus Orsa. They're about to be 10.5 after this tier 2 tower in the mid lane, and they still have Fire Giant buff for an additional 2.5 minutes. They have enough time to get those 2 towers on the left. The Gold Fury another Phoenix perhaps, and that's this goal lead that they have right now that's sitting at about 10,500 is going to extend to about 12.5.
If anything, you always know that at the highest level of play, small mistakes that win you games overall. We saw a little bit earlier on when Novus Orsa won a team fight, they went for the fire, they couldn't get it when they could have taken the gold. They didn't get punished enough. This time around though, Elevate group up on the left-hand side, giving up the fire giant, and then they get punished by losing all the towers as well, and they don't even manage to get that gold Fury because Frosty was over there.
And this is the point in time where things are looking very grim for Elevate. Now 12,000 gold behind. There are also still 2 towers available that's going to be stripped away because Novus Orsa is still having the fire giant for about 2 more minutes here, and they're getting to a point in time where they're about finishing up their 5th items, working on their 6th. Elevate, they're still struggling just to finish up their 4th.
Well, I will say in this game, I'm very surprised by some of the newer faces to these teams coming in. Their performance has been pretty good so far. FleuryQ has stepped it up from what we saw in relegations here. His Neath game was pretty solid, and this one in Izanami too. And across the way, Faeles in the jungle and BlizzardFX, they've not had terrible games overall.
No, not at all. The Raw from BlizzardFX in the first game was just on point. Susino from Faeles as well. They set each other up beautifully, as well as MoGoW making their rotations from the Odin solo lane. It's just the question of the matter was who got the pressure first in the solo lane. In this game, it was Novus Orsa.
Tier 1 tower does fall on the left now. Only 1 tower remaining, and I don't think Elevate are going to look to defend this one, but they will look to defend their Phoenix. Full minion wave coming in, and this will quickly be chopped down by Izanami and the massive damage she can do with those basics.
They pushed out the right side a little bit, but that's about 2 or 3 fire waves that they're going to have to worry about relatively soon. Left-hand side still being pressured. FrostiaK trying to push out the mid here to be able to make sure they maximize this fire giant attempt. If they force anybody in the mid lane, we're going to see FrostiaK easily engage on the left-hand side, especially with that blink.
With that blink, keep an eye on FrostiaK on the forefront. Frezzyy may dive in too, but it's Ducky the first one to the front. Going to trade ult for ult though with Dardez, and Ducky took a lot of free poke there for nothing. MoGoW's going to focus his attention towards him. The boulder hits, but it's not enough damage. Meanwhile on the back, FrostiaK's running for his life right now as he gets sniped out. Dardez gets credit for the kill. MoGoW going to heal up one more time. The Phoenix is slowly falling, however, and the rest of Novus Orsa are relatively healthy here, even though they lost Frosty.
The nice Aegis from BlizzardFX going to prevent the Yamamatsu, but with a fire wave entering that Titan room, they can't really defend the left side Phoenix. That crush is going to zone everybody from Elevate. That mid Phoenix just absolutely melted, and now it's going to be Elevate trying to chase Novus Orsa.
And now a bit of trouble here for Frezzyy to get out. I've been juggled in the air and kept in that whirlpool, so he can't escape to safety. Novus Orsa got what they wanted though. They managed to get all 3 Phoenixes down for now with the last fire giant, and with 3 members still alive, they can just hold here, wait for the respawns of Frosty and Frezzyy as well.
The timing of the respawns from Frezzyy and Frosty just sync up so perfectly because the fire giant is going to match them about 10 to 15 seconds after they respawn. Fire giant will be available, and with all 3 Phoenixes down for Elevate, they can't even leave their base here. They're down about 13,000 gold. They need to be making sure that there's no fire minions entering that Titan room. About 2 fire minions uncontested, and there goes your Titan.
There goes the Titan indeed, if they do leave anything available for them. The fire giant, like we said, about to spawn in 15 seconds time now, and it's up to Elevate to try and make a last stand. Both teams look pretty good today though, Tolly. I mean, we saw them in the relegations. I felt Elevate looked a little bit stronger than Novus Orsa, but it's good to see Novus Orsa showing that they do have depth in their squad here. They are still able to perform at the Pro League level and fight back. Elevate are on an even par with them, it seems.
They're able to change their strategies as well between picks and bans. We see how they prioritize the Fafnir for Frezzyy over the Sylvanus, and they've been able to make it work as well. Able to really shut down Dardez this time around because of the fact that ShadowNightmare pretty much got left uncontested. Now he's 0-1 in 10, but he's been doing a lot of damage. He was in the middle of the grounds before in the player damage, but now he's sitting second right next to FrostiaK.
Well, here we go. Elevate have 1 weakened Phoenix to defend. The mid lane and the left lane are going to be down for some time yet, so Novus Orsa don't really need to pay too much attention to them. Their minions will do the work for them. Ducky going to take aggro for the Phoenix to allow FleuryQ to come in and start chipping away, but Elevate ahead. The Pollen Shadow's good. Going to force the beads early on, as Dardez did trade his ult for that, however, and the Fire Giant buff is still going to heal up Shadow.
That's a huge ultimate not available for Elevate now. Dardez is trying to defend. We see the dive from Ducky trying to find anybody to fight. Going to finally catch on to Dardez as Jermain gets taken on the back. Ducky taking out Dardez. MoGoW doesn't really matter. He's going to get wiped out as well. It's going to be 4 members that so far only fails to defend. And the second game going to go to Novus Orsa. It's going to be a split, Hindu.
I'm a monster, won't find the mark there at the end, but Shadow will still clean up the kill with the help of FleuryQ. 1-1. This split is on. Hopefully you had that in your season ticket so far today. Less than 30 minutes in that one. And Novus Orsa versus Elevate was an interesting set, to say the least.
It was all about the soul lane action. We saw Faeles in game number 1, and then FrostiaK in game number 2.
Well, that's all we've got to do, but Taco is standing by to break down the game and look over some of the highlights from the 2 games.
I am indeed standing by, Hindu, and having a really great time with it. But let's go ahead and break down what happened in these 2 games for the day. As you can see, the split curse does come back for FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare, which is pretty interesting to say the least. But in the first game, we could go ahead and see, I think a lot of what went wrong for Novus Orsa in that first game was Frezzyy reliving his HRX experience with getting caught out a lot on the Sylvanus. Pretty unfortunate to say the least, but at the same time, it's really hard to have any kind of map pressure and jungle control, considering that there was a lot of miscommunication, I feel like, between Frezzyy and Ducky, and that he wasn't really able to find a secure backline spacing for himself, and so he kept getting picked off, which overall just led to Novus Orsa falling steadily behind. Faeles was doing an excellent job, I think, in utilizing this miscommunication, and that he was going ahead and non-stop picking where he needed to, getting his Susanoo ultimates off exactly when he needed to. There was a lot of spacing and control coming out from him. Going ahead, securing some early first blood kills for himself on that Susanoo. And the way that he was able to just utilize his entire kit so efficiently to go ahead and pick off these early kills, I think is what a lot of what led to the early lead on the side of Elevate, getting some great 3-man ultimates off as well. So Faeles, he looks more than confident on the Susanoo gameplay. He really seems like he knows how to use the appropriate spacing for his kit, and he really knows how to engage as well as pulling back off when he needed to. A lot of patience as well coming out from the Susanoo, you know, escaping the Frezzyy ultimate in that he was able to ensure himself not getting knocked up, but at the same time still securing the kill for his team. I think it's pretty important overall when a jungler is able to utilize himself in such a manner that he's efficient as well as safe. And that overall just led to Elevate going ahead and picking up this very first win for themselves. But at the same time, you have to consider that FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare were not ready to give it up quite yet. They went ahead and answered back in game number 2 with a little bit of a slower pacing than what we saw in game number 1. I think that Novus Orsa did an excellent job in coming back, and that they slowed down the pacing enough to where it was a little bit more control coming out. And actually, it was FrostiaK who was really displaying himself super strong on this Batz, and that he was able to consistently get off the massive team ultimates that were necessary in order for Shadow to go ahead and pick up a lot of free Scylla ultimates onto Elevate, which is really important, getting off that secured player damage with the Scylla. Easy setup when you have a Batz on your side. And FrostiaK, non-stop, just ensuring he was capturing at least 2 people every single time in these Batz ultimates, which is really important considering that you want to make sure that you're not just necessarily one-man ulting early on in these important fights, because you want to go ahead and get as many people as possible in your bot's ultimate. That way you can ensure yourself securing objectives and map control. And you can see this is actually a pretty nutty escape by FrostiaK. He went ahead and turned a 1 HP situation into the dream for his team, and that he was able to get out as well as his team capitalize off of that ultimate to secure some kills. It's always really important seeing somebody utilize the Batz ultimate in the way that FrostiaK did. And speaking of which, we've actually got FrostiaK here right now. Frosty, how you feeling after that bots game, buddy?
Hello. I'm feeling good. It wasn't clean by any means. We weren't happy with how we ended, but at least we got that 1 point, so it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a little bit of miscommunication coming out from that first game, but the way you guys bounced back in game number 2 and didn't give up, I think is really important. And as far as comms are concerned with this new lineup, how are you guys feeling about that?
I mean, we are pretty happy with our new pickup Fleury because he's really positive, so even if we are losing, he can still say something that's gonna make like all of us happy and give us motivation to continue playing and doing our best.
Yeah, that's always really important to have in a team environment. And I noticed, who do you think that you would say you place a lot of your focus onto as a jungler whenever you're trying to, you know, fight around these objectives and like early game control?
You mean like who in my team or as a role?
Yeah, like who do you
So-
think that you play off of best right now on your team?
Probably of the soul lane. It's like really important. In this season, it's the most important to just shut down the soul lane and play with that.
Okay, well, I mean, like I said, I think that you had an excellent game on this bots, and if anything, I just want to say congratulations to you guys in coming back and ensuring the split for yourselves. Is there anybody that you want to shout out or anything like that?
Yeah, I would like to shout out FleuryQ for playing really well, even though that was his first SPL game after his role switch.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Ducky because he asked for it. I don't know why, but whatever. And I would like to shout out to our old fans. And at the end, I would just like to ask you if you're not feeling empty in that big room by yourself. I mean, like lonely in that empty room.
Nah, I think I'll be all right over here. I've got a couple of pretty good friends on my